everyone. It's wonderful to see you all in this community together on this early Monday or afternoon, I guess not so early anymore as we were together just an hour ago. We're going to be doing some introductions and then we're going to get started with our presentation. We have 45 minutes. We have a lot to cover. So we ask that if you have questions, if you put them in the chat, we'll try to answer them in the chat. At the end, we'll have time for questions and answers if we're not able to manage through that, and we'll give you our contact information at the end as well. So the session's about student staff development and beyond, how to approach development through a curricular and learning approach. I am Lulu Callagher. I am the Senior Director for College Houses and Academic Services. I've been here for 6.5 years at Penn. I'm going to hand it over and popcorn it to Ebonice to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Ebonice Lamar, and I'm the House Director for Fisher Hassenfeld College House. And I'm going into my 5th academic year working with College Houses and Academic Services. And I'll go and pop it over to my colleague, Trina.
Hi, I'm Trina Sokolowski. I am starting my first year as the House Director for New College House West. Formerly, I was with Water College House, which opened as New College House in 2016. I will be entering in July, I'll be entering my 7th year here at Penn. So good to be with you all today. I'll send it back to Lulu.
I guess I need to update me. Mine is 7 years then. If yours
is 8, I'm
All right. So our learning objectives is that you're going to learn a little bit about college houses and academic services and its training curriculum. Learn how to use a talent management approach to developing such a program. Learn about the macro and micro levels of professional development, and then identify how to apply the principles to your own professional development planning for students or professional staff. So I'm going to give an overview of our college house and the academic services system. So if you went to college, you probably lived in a residence hall, or what would you call a dormitory? I know I just said the D word. And so when we talk about college houses, that's what that means here at the University of Pennsylvania, similar to a residential life experience. But at that time period, early on in the residence life system, we actually had a couple of buildings we called college houses, where they're integrating academic life with our student life. And so we actually were developed through faculty who were living in saying, we need to do more integration of the academic life using the model that is familiar in Cambridge. And so we were designed and created in 1998 by David Brownlee and other faculty leaders. And so we've been around for about 20 years plus now. We're going over, we're actually getting into our adult years now as an organization. And we are clearly integrate. We have that integration of academic and student life. And we are uniquely positioned under the Deputy Provost of Education, which is different than other institutions where we would be positioned under student affairs. We have 13 college houses. You just heard about New College West. If you've been on campus, or even if you want to see the live stream of the building that's being created that Trina's moving into, it's going to be our 13th college house. And we house students at various points of their academic careers, from first year, upper class, and then all 4 years. We roughly have about 6,000 students living on campus with us. We have 13 professional staff living in, so that Ebonice and Trina represent those 13. And then we have 40 faculty and residents. So we have a large population of individuals that are committed to this integration of academic and student life. And we have over 225 undergraduate and graduate resident advisors. And so we have a large ecosystem with not just about just the humans, but also of the way that we approach our training and supporting our students and our staff through that process. So kind of give you an overview of our college house system. So I came here roughly about 7 years ago now. I'm going to add 7 plus to Trina's 7 since I hired Trina. So thank you. Is that when I came here, I really wanted to develop, since we had this system. And at that point, we only had 11 college houses. And we knew we were expanding and growing as an organization. We also were stepping back and looking at what is it that we're doing with our students and student staff. So And we utilize the integrated talent management model to be able to really design our training curriculum and our approach with recruitment and retention of our staff and students. And so we use this definition that was from Human Capital Growth, the practice of hiring, developing, and managing a workforce by creating a work environment where talent can thrive and be productive. And you can see there's 6 stages. This is one example of a talent management life cycle. There's different examples out here. But we're going to actually show how each of our steps that we do, we utilize this component to really have a comprehensive approach to our student staff training, as well as our professional staff. Right now, we're actually in number 1, which is the talent recruitment, which is what we call RA selection. Most of us also have those opportunities where we're recruiting our students to serve into these positions. And we actually take a step back and say, and looking at the job description, and we just did this, we went through the job description and say, does the job description actually say what we wanted to do? And so we actually just recently renamed our one of our positions, a graduate associates, now are going to be GRAs. And so really being able to really articulate clearly what is it the position about. And then we move into the assessment and the selection, which we're doing right now. The onboarding, which we're going to expand on about the training and a curriculum that we have developed over the last 7 years. Connecting to that training, and then performance management. And then lastly, succeeding, either for graduating or people making on their individual ideas about moving on in the position or not, or exceeding into the position, moving and applying to different positions. So kind of give you a framework of how we utilize the talent management model to be able to develop our training and curriculum model. So our training and development philosophy was developed, we use the theoretical foundation of constructivism. So ownership of the knowledge needs to be in a partnership with the learner. And so we have an overarching goal of maximizing the potential for our students and our staff by developing their talents and their strengths, by inquiring the new skills, practicing those in action, and then reflecting and then connecting them to overall satisfaction and aspirations. So we do a combination in our model of the individuals coming that we're selecting to serve in these positions have to have some levels of funds of knowledge, understanding of student, like a passion to be able to serve the students. They don't need to always know everything about student development there, because again, themselves might be 1st-year students, 2nd-year students, but have some passion idea of like, what is that experience like for our students, have a desire to be self-directed. And we also provide our own training guided sessions to get them to that knowledge base. And we define professional development as growth and individual knowledge, skill, and professional efficiency. And we believe that each person's responsible for their development is not just on the onus of the organization. And so you can see this model that's been developed, and this is one I designed and put together, is that we believe it's like really the roots of a tree. Expanding, you have the funds of knowledge that's you're drawing from your past history, knowledge that you have, and it's really through several avenues that helps you develop your growth. So we have formal training and professional development. We have the use of professional development or evaluation processes, checks and points, our training or enhancement skill sessions or in-services, and then self-guided development. We want to really, again, encourage that self accountability and knowledge regarding like, what is it the work that I'm doing here? So this is kind of like, this is our framework of how we develop like our training program. So when we get to our training curriculum in 2014, we had a work group that was developed to identify the content area, i.e. competencies, that each RA should possess at the conclusion of their experience. And so this is always important to articulate that we don't expect people to have this at the beginning, that it's part of the journey over the years that they're experiencing in the position, that they should be able to achieve each of these areas. And I'm gonna show you those steps. And so we identified 8 competencies. Our newest competency is called service to others, and I want to highlight Ebonish was one person who said that we're missing an important element to our curriculum, and so that was added 2 years ago. So we have 8 components to our content areas for our training curriculum. We have academic and intellectual life, campus resources, creativity and innovation, diversity, personal and professional growth, service to others, which is our service projects, staff leadership, and student and community engagement. Before I move on, I just want to check in the chat room if there's anything we need to use and highlight. Okay, no questions yet. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat room. We'll stop here and there to make sure everyone's doing okay. Get some water. My throat is dry now. So our approach, so we have the framework of an integrated talent management. This is our big approach of understanding how we're going to manage 225 staff members, 13 live-in staff. We have faculty and residents. It's a large organization. I'm not even talking about our administrative staff. We have layers and layers of staff. And so then we have, again, breaking it down to focusing on our RAs, the competencies that they need to develop over the periods of time that they're with us. So we move into on our approaches and strategies, which we call IER, which is introduction, emphasize, and re-emphasize. And so we spend a lot of time in the I and the E and the central training, and then we're introducing some of the base knowledge of topics. And then we emphasize those topics by like in-depth exploration, face-to-face F-to-F training or online training. And then we have reinforced that through supervision throughout points in one-on-ones and conversations that the houses do in the micro level to connect individuals to the content, as well as just critical points throughout the year that we do as in services or different opportunities that we want to engage students or our staff on, that we feel like that we might have missed that content, or we just need to highlight or renew it. And so we have different strategies that we have employed. Pre-COVID, we already were practicing on like we've already had a Canvas training site. During the COVID period, we expanded that Canvas site. I'm really excited about what we did over there in our site to be able to deliver training to such a large population. And then what we utilize, so I is actually our pre-emergence experience. And so once they come in around, and right now in June, they get added to our Canvas site and they start going through training modules to get some of the basic information of the content for the position. And then in August, we have the emphasize experience, which is really in-depth 10-day period that we really expand in knowledge, not just about like tangible items such as policies and procedures, but also the other skills of conflict mediation, communication, dialogue, working in a team. And we really spend 10 days working with our staff to really establish that base of knowledge. And then our reinforcement is that throughout the year, we have in services, we have a winter training, we call winter summit, that really gets a critical time to step back and say, okay, have I learned enough at this critical time? What else do I need to continue learning? And so that's our IER method. And then we have 2 tracks. We have first timers, and that's our new staff that have just joined us, and our returning staff. And I will demonstrate you the mapping and inventories that we use to just be able to like just see as they move through these stages. So here's the mapping and sequence. So utilizing the learning theory and student development foundation, we have a sequence of courses that are mapped out to articulate the learning path of a student staff going through the training management system, right? And so, and critically, what we would like to get to is that at the conclusion of being an RA, they can leave with what we would call a syllabus, right? And say, I had completed and taken this. And by doing this, I had this knowledge, boom, boom, boom. That's our aspiration. We're trying to get there. COVID kind of put a stop on a lot of our processes, but we're excited to be able to come back and revamp it up. So I just wanted to just, highlight a few elements. Now, this is a very thick document that we have. And so you can see as an RA in your first year, under academic and intellectual life, we have certain courses that you would need to take. Undergraduate life at Penn, resource fair, a theme year with Penn Reading Project. That's what PRP stands for. For campus resources, we go to the resource fair, working with residential services, one of our campus partners, meeting with the CHAS tech team. And then moving on your second year and beyond, and we're still developing the third year and beyond, is like there's other critical times, opportunities, even though it's a resource fair and the theme year might be the same content, but actually returners being able to go back and serve as advisors or mentors or guiding through that process in those sessions. And so being building in a returner peer-to-peer educating sessions. And so that's where the second year and beyond, we're trying to develop that as well. We worked in collaboration with the Center of Learning, Teaching and Learning to develop our second year curriculum. So I want to acknowledge that with their assistance. And then we can break it down. So you saw right here, the first slide shows you the course, just the titles of the courses. So the next part actually shows you actually for the competencies, how it actually kind of breaks down exactly what do you need in that track. And so the RA and in the first year, at the conclusion of the first year for student and community engagement, they should be able to know how to do regular programming, connect with each resident on an individual basis, encourage and contribute to self-growth and academic achievement, have courtesy knowledge of each of their students on their floors, being able to identify academic and other resources. In their second year, they should be able to seek involvement of others to build a community. They should be able to utilize residents to lead events in the floor and link various residents together through common interests. So the first year is really more centric, more focused on the RA knowing knowledge, where the second year, the RA is actually utilizing the community to expand that knowledge. And so kind of give you that framework of how we are building the blocks for our curriculum. So kind of give you an idea, here's the course descriptions. So here's one course that we provide that we usually provide is academics and traditions and years. It's first year track, and they have to learn about the 4-year schools at the university, learn the locations, understand the advising structure, etc., etc. So any question, let me go into the chat before we go. There is a question. That's a great question that Joseph has posted about how students responded to the self-guided videos or recordings. Do they need to be prompt to complete everything? It's a great question. And I am very prideful to tell you that we have 100%. Yes, do I have to remind them? Yes, hey, reminder. But our staff actually are very eager to get to know the content about the materials of serving as an RA. They have to have it done by the time they arrive on campus. And so this past year, for example, it was August 1st. It took us some time to develop to expand it. But August 1st, we turned it on, and August 13th, they had to have it completed. But what we actually did was sequenced it. We said, first level, second level, third level, materials you need to know before you get here, materials that you need to know between the 13th and the 20th, because our students, because of the delay of move-in, what things do you need now? What are some things you needed later? So for example, they had restorative practice. So we had a foundation course where you need to know the foundations of restorative practice before we started August 13th. Then understand how do we put restorative practice into action in our college houses. And that was number 2. And then the third was actually practicing it or actually seeing it in action. And that was later in August or early September. And so our students really are very active. They really are engaging. And if there is a concern, if someone doesn't complete the course through Canvas, I run a report as the teacher. All my house directors are instructors, so they can actually pull reports and we follow up. And then the individuals have a period of time to complete all the videos, or they're no longer in the position. So it's really linked into the position or accountability. And you usually give a warning. We usually, move through a positive reinforcement performance management system, because we really want them to be successful. So great question. But our students actually, they really were eager beavers to be able to get that all completed. And Ebonish outlined it and with some details, but I also can provide additional about the framework on how we did that.
And if I might add, I think that one of the things that's helpful about that, the online content, is that it's directly related to the types of skill and application that our staff will need to be able to do when they start in the position. So they see the relevance right away. And then as we go through the year, if it's helpful for us in terms of supervision and development, if there are areas that we need to reinforce, that we can go back to that training. And so they see the relevance. Returning staff especially will see the relevance of that and help to kind of promote the completion of that and explain it, especially with new staff coming on in informal ways. But I think that one of the key things, I agree with Ebony and Lulu, that it's engaged, the content has been engaging for our staff, and especially when they're able to see that the content, is important for them to be able to do this work that they're excited to be able to do.
Right. And one of the things too is that, my doctorate work is on online learning. So creating online environments to maximize learning. And so I charged the training committee that none of our content, some of our videos, our live session videos were long. So they were like at least an hour because we had live sessions, live recordings of Zoom. So there was an hour and a half. But otherwise, any other videos that were async were not any longer than 3 minutes. And then building on and utilizing the Canvas and other tools. And so as many times they can be outside of the Canvas site. We have other sites. We have our own training site within the IR system, which is our information reporting system that they have to go and complete. A lot of those hands-on too, of what we call behind closed doors, where we actually did a virtual behind closed doors, and Ebony will highlight one of those, and how successful that was with utilizing returners to implement that. Do we have challenges? Absolutely. Do the returners, individuals come and tell us, I can just do this on my own. I don't have to show up in August. And obviously we actually, and I was like, my dissertation work is about online learning. Online learning tells you need to still have face-to-face, F-to-F experiences too. That has to be balanced with that online learning, especially the type of work that we do with engaging students right in their spaces where they live. So we do have challenges, so I do want to put it out there that's not like warm and fuzzies all the time. We have returners who do not believe they need to go through training. They think they've already done it. They're good. And we're like, no, you still haven't gotten to that second level of competency yet.
We love those returners. And so another element I will add is, because I'm one for having things concise in one place. And so another big thing for our staff is that it's all housed in one location, right? And so they are not filtering to a variety of files or drives to find the content that they need throughout the year. For some of them, they need that refresher regarding the skills that they need, knowledge they need for their position. So if they like that, it's like in one location, they can click and here it all is through 365.
And I do want to emphasize too, one of the things that we do too is that now, because we have this online training, but this curriculum, anytime that anyone exits or enter our organization, they have to go through these sessions, as well as, like as Trina probably will highlight too, is that it's a way to utilize it in evaluation processes. If you have a concern that a staff member, and I know Ebony definitely did this as part of their learning plan, you didn't really understand this material. I need you to go back through, complete the quiz, and we're going to meet about it in dialogue in a one-on-one environment so that I can make sure that you've gained that knowledge, because in order to be able to perform in this position, you need to have this knowledge. And so we get to utilize it as a reinforcement tool, not just a one-time element. So moving on to the micro and macro levels. And so macro level, we have the CHAS overall training and development program. And so we pull from different elements, disciplines, mixed methods for learning and delivering. And so we have async and the sync, and we have usually what we have is like large sessions, small sessions. We utilize many components and different to be able to have differential learning occurring. That's a strong value I have as a senior director and overseeing the training program. That really emphasizes on, again, maximizing that learning, but then also being able to take that knowledge into that macro level, which is at the house and supervision level. So we have the big picture, big concepts happening. And then again, civic engagement, leadership, like these are big, lofty, conceptually. And an RA would say, but how do I do this on the floor? What do you want me to do? And then we take it to that macro level, which is the house and the supervisory program that creates the unique learning plans or developmental goals for each individual at a house level, which allows for more of a robust, intentional development. So we tell this over to our staff, you will not be left alone. We will support you throughout the process. And anytime you utilize your supervisor to be able to have dialogue and ping back and forth saying, well, I have this issue on the floor, I have a roommate issue, or I have this, I don't know what to do. That's why we have professional staff that live in to be able to assist in that growth of those individuals. So I wanted to highlight those individuals, what they do at the macro level to kind of maximize our students' learning. And so I'm going to highlight Louder, which is Trina's formal building, and let them speak on what they did, how they led their staff there.
Sure, thank you. So Lauder opened as New College House in 2016, and the approach, and I start there because my approach to training and development of the student staff evolves throughout, and I will probably, as I look forward to developing New College House West, I will likely incorporate some of the things that I've been able to do throughout the past 5 years for Lauder, with incorporating some new things, because everything is based, my approach has been based on, making sure that our staff is prepared for the needs of the community and the goals that we have for the student experience, the types of things that we want to be able to provide and the opportunities that we want to be able to build for our students, so that they're having a positive experience and they're feeling connected to each other, to the college house, and then ultimately to campus, which is all of our responsibility in some way. So in thinking back to New College House, now Lauder, in that first year, we were really focused on establishing house traditions, building a community identity, and establishing the team. So this was a group of students, undergraduate resident advisors, and graduate associates, graduate students who had not worked together in the past and had not been a part of a college house team. And so that team development was really important as a foundation. And then being able to really help them visualize what we had imagined as kind of this vision of building and promoting global engagement, doing a bit of education around sustainability, and again establishing our house traditions and building an identity for the house. And so our training program really focused on building connections as a team, and being able to engage in some conversations about what we wanted, the types of things we wanted to be known for as a college house, what we wanted our students to be able to say about their experience at the end of the year, and visualizing that so that was like our initial training in August, really focused on that planning. And then once we had a year, it took, a year of kind of developing throughout the academic year, to continue to build our team. And as they developed ideas and became excited about different things that students were then contributing to the community, it was up to me to work with our team to be able to incorporate new opportunities for skill development, new topics, and continue that growth and development throughout the year in our staff meetings. As we move forward year to year as a college house, we were able to use our observations of our community and then student feedback to be able to develop new opportunities each year for our students, which then led to further needs for our staff. And so I think about, for example, years kind of 3 and 4, we really wanted to focus on, in terms of staff development, we wanted to focus on communication among the staff and being able to provide feedback so that they could work together in more effective ways to bring better programming to students. And so those were areas that we focused on in training in August, and then as well throughout in our staff meetings throughout the year, helping them to feel comfort, a certain level of comfort talking with each other and having, somewhat difficult conversations around providing feedback and learning from each other. That led to more effective planning of activities and better collaboration among the staff. And then programmatically, we wanted to focus for our students on elements of care, self-care, care for others, and care for society. And so those were some topics that we built in to our topics and opportunities that we built in to our training, and then again throughout the year. And then finally, I've mentioned several times about that these were things that kind of carried through or threaded throughout the year. It was also important that the staff were invested and have a voice in planning and implementing initiatives as well. And so, being able to incorporate that ownership has been really beneficial. So staff will have a chance to be a part of a committee that works on bringing those development opportunities. And so I've had student staff plan workshops on kind of leveraging the RA position in future career and kind of talking about translatable skills, that type of thing, as well as things that are related, that can be related to the RA position and beyond, and incorporating their interests. So I've had staff members who are really into design thinking, being able to bring some workshops to our staff that helped us to think about the ways that we were planning activities, but then also it was helpful because it was a skill that then they brought to other aspects of their lives as students. And then just in each staff meeting, each opportunity that we had as a staff, week to week, month to month, that various staff members had a chance to bring different activities and conversation to the meetings, to be able to have many voices at the, many voices around the table, and then that helped them build their facilitation skills as well. And so each year having a little bit of a different approach, but always with our student community needs in mind, and always with the staff needs, and helping them to prepare for what they would need to do in mind as well. So thank you for listening to our story of Lauder College House.
Thank you, Trina. And I'm going to move to the other side of campus, to the quad, where Fisher-Hassenfeld College House is, and Ebonish will share their approach with the micro level.
Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Trina. And so as I think about, going into my fifth year working with a variety of staff members, one of the things that I reflect upon and how I develop my staff, and even though that they may change what they think they need for position or gaining from the role may change, and our students change every year. One of the things that I develop my staff on or focus on every single year is really getting them to understand what it means to work and structure a program, an operating system around the first year experience, right? That's not changing for our house or Fisher-Hassenfeld. And so there are many different areas that I've developed my staff on, but or I've changed how I develop, but this is the one that has not changed in the last 5 years, because it's so central to how we operate within our house. And so when I think of the things that we have done, I really have centralized it around, one, having them understand and really work with the fundamental components of the first year experience. And when I say the first year experience, what does that mean? And what does that mean for them is really getting them connected to understanding how our first year students transition, getting them connected to wellness, getting them connected to each other, developing them around what it means to live in a community for the first time. What does it mean to step onto a college campus for the first time, and connecting our first year students to resources within the house and resources on Penn's campus, right? And so that is our focus, and that is what I want them to understand is their focus as RAs and GRAs in our college house. All right, and so what has this kind of looked like for us over the years? Again, focusing on the first year experience. And so in practice, for us, this really has looked like, very intentional RA and GRA training sessions, all right? And so the first step is always, for me, is providing the language for them and getting them comfortable with specific language related to how they are going to be interacting with their students, how they're going to be building community, and how they're going to be introducing their residential students to this new experience, living in the college house, right? And so my training sessions really do start, and also ongoing, with specific language and getting them comfortable around having those types of conversations so that they are able to be comfortable executing specific programming, and floor meetings around the first year experience. Another area of practice for this is also not only myself doing this for them, but also another skill that I want them to be able to have throughout their year or 1, 2, or plus years working in our college house, is being able to have these conversations with each other around what does it mean to work in the first year house, around purposeful programming, and being very intentional about the conversations that they are having with their students. And so whether that is formulating working groups or programming planning sessions, or being very intentional about putting them on teams where they're able to engage around specific topics, that again, it goes back to connecting to the first year experience, giving them those skills to be able to do that. Another big element for us, again, working with first year students is, I think sometimes our RAs and our GRAs, they come into the position and they may have all of these ideas of how they want to create a certain experience for our students. But another part of their development within this role really is taking the interests of the students themselves. Our students may be new to the campus, they may be new to the college house, but they are certainly not, they certainly are not in a place where they don't have any ideas about the types of experiences they want to have by living in our college house. And so getting our RAs and GRAs comfortable with the feedback system, right? And so whether, and creating community buy-in regarding different things that they want to implement in their communities, right? And so getting them comfortable with that. Also a general awareness as well, right? And so getting them and training them around having difficult conversations with our students as well. And so one of the things about working with our first year students, right, is that they need an additional level of support systems from our staff teams, right? And so my development really is focusing on getting them comfortable and being in a one-on-one setting with the residential student, getting them comfortable with community check-ins to make sure their students are okay, that they're thriving in their residential community. And again, finally, and also the execution piece, right? Having the conversations, having the training sessions, and having the working groups. But I've also kind of implemented, the execution, right, of actually developing those programs around first year transition and first year experience, so that their residents are able to participate in what they're providing for them. And so finally, kind of another level for us as well is, yes, we work in the first year house and we're focusing on the first year experience, but I'm finding out that over the years, as our staff come in, they are also heavily invested in the skills that they are gaining within the role, and how they're going to be able to utilize what they are doing in other sectors, right? And some of them freely talk to me about this in our conversations, and others really want those kind of pinpoint examples of how they're going to be utilizing the information. Right. And so another area of my development is also having conversations with them in training sessions and working groups around what are some of these transferable skills that you don't think you may have, but that you're actually gaining from this position. All right. And so just in the first year experience alone with our RAs and GRAs in our house, they're really kind of gathering a lot of comprehension, right, with skills that they can take to other places, being able to extrapolate information from sessions and then executing that within programs or any future meetings that they may be a part of. And so again, these are conversations that I'm having with them regarding transferable skills to get them more comfortable with looking at this position as more than what they're doing now, the task at hand, but how they can utilize these skills in the future. Also, another element is kind of team development, right? And so we have a pretty large team. We have 23 RAs and GRAs working with the house. It's a little bit over 400 first year students, right? And so they spend a lot of time together executing this first year experience with myself and our faculty. And so one of the biggest skills that they take away from this position is being able to work cooperatively within working groups and to discuss program intentionality and creating a purpose, right? And so they're doing this all the time in our training sessions and our staff meetings. They're doing this in their conversations with faculty and of course with their communities as a whole. And then finally being able to kind of, being comfortable with feedback systems and being able to utilize those skills in different areas. And then finally execution, right? Everything that they're doing and they're planning for is being able to produce, right? Or produce a product, right? And these are the things that they're interested in, their experiences with plans and programs and events, and being able to wrap that around a specific demographic or population, what they are doing, working with the first year experience, right? Are skills that they'll be able to take away with any kind of future employment position or leadership role. All right, so this is kind of just a little bit of a snapshot of some of the developmental activities or things that I have done with my staff over the years, and also their entrance and transferable skills and things that we provide for them within these positions, and specifically the things that they're doing working with first year students.
So I know we're running out of time, and that's not going to have anything to get to the last 2 minutes of everything here. So you can see that we're really passionate and excited about the work that we do with our students, and we have a lot of intentionality. And so a part of that intentionality is a circular review of what we're doing every 2-3 years to really help our student staff and review what we have. Like I said, we just added a new competency 2 years ago because we felt we were missing a component of civic engagement. And so we're looking at recruitment, our onboarding, our training, our performance evaluations. How do we actually succeed and develop layers of student leadership within our organization, and offboarding the experience and other takeaways for us? And obviously during the COVID, during this COVID time period, we've learned a lot and we've lost a lot. So we have a lot of new staff members coming in who've never lived on campus, a lot of them who have never really actually known what college house system looks like. And so that's requiring for us to go back to the drawing board and saying, what is the foundations that we need to provide to our student staff? Then how do we build upon that? And then thinking about our senior leadership, our senior like GAs, returners, what other leadership opportunities would they have from every touch point they've had with our experience? And so I know we're like less than 2 minutes, but if there's some questions that people have that we could touch upon, I'm going to put up here our contact information. We might be more than happy to consult and have conversations, to share our materials, to talk about the experiences that we've had with being able to develop a curricular approach to learning and developing our students.